golfj.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to our season finale episode of the Golf J podcast on FingerLakes1.tv. I'm Jim Sinacropi alongside Rhett Taccone and Doug Brown inside the FingerLakes1.com studios on the third floor of the North Park building in Seneca Falls, New York on Monday, October 1st, 2018. And tonight, we're obviously going to talk about the Ryder Cup debacle, the demolition of the U.S. squad by the Europeans. You know, why? How could this stacked team of U.S. golfers lose so bad? And we got to wait 2 years now to defend or try to get that cup back. And so what can we do different in those 2 years? And then also, it's in our season finale, we'll take a look back at the season. We'll give you who we think should be the player of the year on the PGA Tour. And then, then we're going to have to all get along without PGA Tour golf for a while because Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday the new season begins in California. So we'll preview this new season and actually give you some picks. Maybe I want to talk about the top, maybe your top five if you got a fantasy draft coming up. Who you think, and that could be an interesting discussion. So stay with us. But first and foremost, Europe beat the U.S. 17.5 to 10.5. I mean, it wasn't even close. For a brief moment, you thought in the singles that the U.S. might make a charge similar to, Brookline with Ben Crenshaw's team, yep. But wasn't meant to be. And then, just as they did in 2014, the U.S. squad kind of imploded on themselves with the bickering and finger pointing. And boy, if you watched any golf coverage today on Golf Channel or PGA Tour Radio or anything like that, boy, everybody was a whipping boy for discussion. So, I mean, Brownie, you just got back from vacation, so you watched it down in Florida. You played some golf. We'll hear about that. Brownie, you got up early and watched it, and you guys feel cheated for the lost hours of sleep?
Yes, I basically wasted my time, I guess, getting up at 2:00 in the morning. And although Friday morning was fulfilling, but the rest of it was downhill and downhill fast. Yeah, it was a shame.
It was exciting to go out and golf Friday morning after watching at 2 a.m.
Right.
How good a shape we were in, thinking, okay, I'm going to go golf now. I'm going to miss some of this. We were watching it on our phones and the golf carts and stuff, and we're thinking, what the hell just happened? Right. Actually, can't say that, but what the heck just happened? Bring on the President's Cup, because we always do well in that.
Yeah, because everybody cares so much.
Right. But
obviously more relaxed.
But it was, probably.
Yeah.
It was. But then I felt like I wasted a good round of golf on Saturday because I was so disappointed going into it that we were so far behind at 10 to 6 at that point, or after Saturday's rounds.
Right, 4-point lead, relatively insurmountable. It's only happened like once or twice ever. That's been
like you said earlier. You think you're going to go into Saturday after 3 to 1 in the morning. Friday, you think you're going to go into Saturday at least 5 to 3.
At least a split in the afternoon. You're absolutely right. Well, the late morning for those for our time, right? But afternoon for them. Just go 2-2, right? Yeah. Makes it 5-3. Yeah. Nice, comfortable lead.
Right.
With signs of life, but we showed nothing.
Well, Friday afternoon. Not only did U.S. get swept 4-0, but they lost 3-2, 4-2, 5-4, and 5-4. So the matches were over. If you went there to watch some good golf and some exciting matches, the Friday afternoon was not the time.
You want to be in the bleachers on 14, not 18.
If you were waiting on 18, you were
no good.
You were mad.
Jeez, nice bleachers too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just as much as all this anticipation that leads up to the Ryder Cup, it's over before it started, and this is a reoccurring issue, and. I'm going to go off on the reasons I think that we didn't perform well, but I'm interested in hearing your guys' take on, why, Brownie.
Well, I think we don't do well in this whole team environment compared to them. I think we're much more golf's an individual sport as it is, but I think we're much more individual than they are. Absolutely. Okay, I think when you get a team like, we'll pick on Tiger Woods and Patrick Reed together, both of those guys want to be the force in that team. Yeah. And I think on the European side, they don't care as long as the team wins. Yeah, somebody carries somebody, they don't care. Yeah. Right? But I think that's a little bit of the American side, and probably pretty spot on. But we, they set the course up difficult for us. They know we don't hit fairways, right? And it's their prerogative to set the course up their way and pick the formats. You got to play both formats each day. It's their choice what the rotation is,
right?
And they get to choose. And typically they choose the foursomes first because we don't do as well,
right?
The alternating shot piece, but they chose the 4-ball, and sure enough, we took a lead.
Yeah.
Okay, but then in the afternoon, I think you got some teams that you got to question some of the people that were out there, like Phil Mickelson being out there playing foursomes,
vice captain,
alternating shots. He's probably the most inaccurate driver on our team, and is not in form.
Right.
Okay, so a little concerned about the pairings, if you will, but not so far that I would throw Furyk under the bus, because those guys are still professional golfers.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so get over yourselves. But I think the bottom line overall is those guys have better teamwork framework than we do.
Yeah, and from a 1,000-foot view, I think that's right. I think they're better team players for whatever reason that is.
And I also think too it's just weird. I don't know, it's a phenomenon or something, but they're out of form players always seem to be in form right when it comes to the Ryder Cup. It's something about Sergio. I mean, we couldn't find how many cuts did he miss this year?
Right.
A ton.
Right. Real suspect pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And but going to the Ryder Cup, he is just a killer in the Ryder Cup. Ian Poulter had a better year, but wasn't exactly playing his best either.
Right.
He has no issues in the Ryder Cup.
Right. No doubt.
It's something that just always seems to be our guys that aren't playing to form or out of form play out of form in the Ryder Cup, and it showed. I mean, Phil Mickelson should not have been on the team. I mean, if you take what he did in this Ryder Cup, it might have been one of the worst performances ever, he and Tiger Woods. Now, Tiger, obviously, you're not going to say he shouldn't be on the team because of the form he was in.
He was playing in form.
And he should have been on the team at that point. Now,
Phil and Mickelson combined, they're like the teams that they've been on, they've only won one Ryder Cup.
Yeah, he hasn't. Tiger hasn't
won.
Two of
the best American golfers of the last 25 years.
Right.
Are the worst Ryder Cup players in the history of the event.
It's crazy. I don't know what the answer is, but I would have much rather seen Xander Schauffele or somebody like that on the team to put his best foot forward.
We still would have lost, though.
Oh, no question. I'm not saying that. Obviously, Phil wasn't the only reason we lost. I mean, you don't.
Although maybe the whole chemistry of things change, but yeah, I mean, you look at the captain's picks and they all were horrible, performed horribly, except for Tony Finau. I know, was he a captain's pick?
He was the last.
He was the last pick.
Yeah.
Tony did okay, finishing at 2-1, one of just 4 players on the roster with winning records for the U.S. But I mean, my take is that it's not how it used to be. The Ryder Cup used to be the European Tour versus the American Tour. It was almost like the European Tour was playing for their tour. Now, the entire European team plays just as much as the Americans do on the PGA Tour.
Sure.
So I think that now that they're not playing for their tour, they're all over here in America playing week to week to week, and then they get to actually realize that they have this common thread of being Europeans back on European soil especially, and I think they embrace that opportunity. I think that it's not that they wish that the European Tour, maybe some of them do wish the European Tour was stronger, but none of the top players in the world can afford to not play the PGA Tour. The purses are so much bigger, and the FedEx Cup alone next year is $15 million.
Right.
You gotta do that. So it's different in the fact that they're just so ingrained. It's like one big group now. It's not like America versus Europe in the way that it used to be. You wouldn't see those guys. Sometimes you'd go. So like when when I was watching golf as a kid, I didn't like Nick Faldo. Didn't see him every week. Maybe if you saw him every week on tour. Right. He's overplaying the European Tour. It was easy to dislike them as an American. Now, if you ask an American kid who their favorite golfers are, they're just as likely to say Rory McIlroy as they are Justin Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
And I don't think that they even differentiate that. Now, whether that alone can't be the difference in why we got our butt kicked so bad, but I think when you see the reaction of the Americans when they lose, that tells a lot about it.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Reed bickering because Jordan Spieth didn't want to play with him, which is bad enough that Patrick Reed makes an issue with that, but if Jordan Spieth did not want to play with Patrick Reed, that's not good either.
Right.
And everybody's so quick to throw the captain under the bus too, which are saying he wasn't included, didn't include us in only a few people in the pairings and stuff. Look, I think you'll never hear a European team question their captain.
That stuff doesn't even get talked about with the Europeans.
He's the captain.
He's the captain, and that'll leave it at that. Now with us, it's all about, are they getting included in all the decisions? Are they not? It's like, Furyk's the captain. I want to take some input from my players. At the end of the day, let's not lose the fact that he's the captain. Let him make the decisions. And then the whole way they do this afterwards with this press conference when they're all there together and they all just start throwing each other under the bus. I hated that when Mickelson did that to Watson. Now, Watson didn't do a very good job per se, but he's not the only one that's not done a good job in the last 25 years.
That's for the locker room, not for the world to
keep
see.
That to yourself. But I think that leads to the individualistic and egotistical part of the PGA Tour and American golfers, the professional golfers. It's and I don't know why that's not necessarily like that with the Europeans, because they're certainly playing for the same purses and they making the same money and maybe just because they've been so dominant, you don't hear anything like that because there's really been no issues to try and overhaul things.
They didn't win the last time. Like, we had the cup, so the Europeans have lost. I don't think, and we crushed them last time too.
Right.
I don't think it was quite this bad, but it was close.
But there were stretches of time where they kept the same captain for like 7 cups.
Right.
Sure.
And they lost 6 in a row. They didn't fire the guy.
Yeah.
No. Like Bernard Gallagher there. That guy, he was there for quite some time. And Tony Jacklin did a few. So they'd go 0-7. They never fired him. They never got any bickering.
Those were times, too, when the Europeans clearly were underdogs every year in terms of the players. And even to the point where American viewers, I don't remember how the Ryder Cup used to be televised in the 70s and 80s, but you might not even recognize a few of these guys. But now it's both teams are just a who's who of the world golf rankings at the top.
And it's too bad for the sake of our team that we always remember the captains who lost because we just lambaste them for terrible decisions. How was that necessarily a terrible decision when these guys got to hit the shots?
I know it. He's a villain.
I don't even remember who was the captain 2 years ago for Europe. And nobody said a word about them losing the cup.
Was it Westwood? No, it wasn't Westwood.
No, it was maybe it was Clark. I don't know. I think it was Darren Clark.
Darren Clark, you're right.
But did he do a bad job?
No, you know what I mean. Yeah, you do. You're more.
Like, they're with these guys for a week. Okay, they're captain for 2 years, but they aren't with these guys. There's not any group team events in the 2 years going that help build camaraderie.
Yep.
If these guys don't associate with each other over the course of the 2 years, and you get them on Monday, and all of a sudden now you've got to make all the right choices. What are the right choices? Like, even with Furyk's choices, I didn't agree with some of those picks either. But does it mean they were wrong? I mean,
and
wrong if you lose.
Reed's example, Furyk put Spieth with Thomas, and they won. What did they? Spieth was 3-2, and Thomas was 4-1. Then he puts Reed with Tiger. You're going to complain to have Tiger Woods as your partner? I mean, so I personally think that Furyk could have drawn the names out of a hat, and it would still be on the players to hit the shots. Any combination here could work. Now, you try to maximize it and get guys that complement each other well. And I think you like to get guys that like each other well. But like Patrick Reed said, I don't need to like my partner to be a good best ball team.
What's Patrick Reed's real problem here? I mean,
he got sat. That's a big problem. They sat him down for 2 matches, and he can't handle that because he's Captain America.
Yeah, and he's being a baby. Is what he's doing, bringing this stuff up. It's like The captain picks the picks. He got to play with Tiger Woods, for crying out loud. If Jordan Spieth goes 3-2 and Justin Thomas goes 4-1, I'd say that was pretty good. Two pretty good pairings for Furyk on his behalf. Now, I didn't think Mickelson should have played as much as he did. I mean, he obviously showed the first match out that he wasn't ready to go.
He only played once, right?
No,
afternoon on Friday.
He played afternoon on Friday.
Got benched on Saturday all day.
Yeah,
no, I thought he played Saturday too. No,
he got benched all day.
No, he's 0-2. Lost a single match and lost the alternate shot. Now, if I had to question Furyk, I wouldn't have put Mickelson out in the alternate shot format either. That's really putting pressure on you, you know, especially knowing obviously that he was not playing good. Maybe he didn't want to put him out early Friday for the sake of getting off to a hot start, but I would not have put him in the alternate shot because, I mean, the defining shot for Mickelson this weekend was the alternate shot where it was a par 5, 6th hole. I think he decided to hit an iron off the tee.
In the water.
And he hooked it like so far right into the pond.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't even know there was a pond there.
Right.
You're not in form if you do that.
Yeah, I think if you started him Friday morning in the best ball and he played well, you could justify keeping him out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the reverse of that, you couldn't take the risk.
But
so
you know, for just to back to Reed real quick, he's just showing what everybody quietly says about him and why nobody likes him. I mean, nobody else blew up like this at the press conference. And like, you've been in 3 Ryder Cups. Take it easy.
Right.
You know, granted,
he'll never be a captain himself.
No, he's never going to be a captain.
President's Cup or Ryder Cup.
Who's going to want to play with him now?
Right. You know, Jim, you were talking about the tours, you know, from years ago to today, European Tour and our tour and all that. Still, if we just kind of blended those thoughts together, do you think Ray Floyd, Lanny Watkins, Jack Nicklaus wouldn't have been fiery competitors even if it was a blended tour like it is today?
No, yeah,
they'd be out there to destroy those guys.
Yeah,
and I don't think we have that fiery group of people like those guys had then. I mean, I could see Lanny Watkins wanting to take the head off of Seve Ballesteros, for example.
Oh, sure.
You know, that type of thing, right? And I don't know. I just think we want to fight inside ourselves, but we don't want to fight them.
You know, it's you can almost liken it to the NBA in the way that people have talked about how, you know, it used to be real tough and hard-nosed, and there were real rivalries, and you didn't like the team. You know, the Bulls hated the Pistons, the Lakers hated the Celtics, and now everybody's buddies in the NBA, and there's real no rivalries, and they're all friends. They hug afterwards, and I think that's the way this is going with the PGA Tour. Yeah,
I think. I just remember watching those guys when I was younger, with the Floyds and the Lanny Watkins and those guys, and they were after it, you know, and I just don't sense that out of this crowd.
Yeah, no, it's more probably, you know, thinking about what the Ryder Cup.
Those guys made a lot less money, comparatively. Forget the inflation piece, right? A good year would have been, I don't know, $60,000 a year would have been a good year, maybe, for this. Now you make the cut, you make 50, you know. So I think the financials were totally different, and they were playing for free in the Ryder Cup. I just think those guys, hell and high water, they were going to win.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Ballesteros is that way. Alasabal coming back at us, right? And these guys, they want to win. I don't think we want to.
Yeah, it's like, does, you know, Dustin Johnson take offense at Ian Poulter pumping his chest? Like, does that make him want to beat him, or is he like, you know?
I think he's like that.
Right. Whatever. He doesn't even notice it. Doesn't fire him up.
Yeah.
He'll be ready to go at the next tournament and cash a big check and go get an endorsement deal, and it doesn't really matter to him.
I know. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that seem like they're just you know, playing because they scored enough points to play, and you know, when can I get back to the individual tournament so I can get another check?
Well,
I think that'll happen.
But everyone wants to get on the team so bad. I just think that
boost their own personal awareness when they get on the team.
Well, I think they envision it as going to be this a lot of fun, vacation-like party atmosphere, fooling around with the guys, a lot of attention, spotlight on them all. I think they love that part of it, but then they get out there, and, you know, honestly, Tiger Woods put his game together to become the best player on tour over the past month, and got to Paris, and he looked like a deer in the headlights out there.
He looked lost.
It's like it's
gassed.
Like it's a different kind of pressure that they don't know how to deal with. The pressure of having teammates that count on you, or it just must be a slightly different kind of pressure that it's never been something Tiger's played good in.
No.
And frankly, it's never been something Mickelson's played well in. Or Bubba Watson, we haven't even mentioned Bubba, but he should never been on this team. You know, you can just tell that it's amazing that all these guys from Europe, from different countries and speaking different languages, gel so good, but the American team seems to just be so caustic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would have liked to see Webb Simpson a little more, but I guess it doesn't matter at this point. Watson and Simpson, I don't know about that pairing, though.
So what's going to be interesting now is there's going to be some changes talked about, I'm sure, like 2014. Although I don't think there's been any real dramatic changes coming out of the Mickelson-Watson debacle. You know, they did this pod thing where they're all played in foursomes. That makes just some sense, right? But there was no real. They went back to 4 captains picks.
Similar selection process and criteria.
Yep.
There's nothing really major changed.
Yep. So I'm just curious what's going to be talked about now, because it's apparent something's got to be done differently.
Yeah. Here's what I would do different. So you got a task force, right? They have put together this task force, and so on the task force is Mickelson, Tiger, and Jim Furyk, 3 of the losingest Ryder Cup members in the history of the Ryder Cup.
Mm-hmm.
That's our task force. And I don't know what Paul Azinger did to, make everybody not like him, but, why isn't Azinger on here? He was the inventor of the pod system,
yes,
I guess, that worked so well for us, and a very successful Ryder Cup player.
Mm-hmm.
And again, individually, well, I could tell you about Mickelson and Woods. Neither are my favorite golfers. But Furyk is certainly a guy I respect, up and down. But he's got a horrible Ryder Cup record as a player, and now as a captain, he captained a team that got crushed. So that's our task force.
Here's the thing: do we need a task force? Like, it's gotten to the point where we're overthinking this.
Oh, I think so too.
You know what I mean? Come on,
the captain's his own task force.
Yeah, I mean, you have your vice captains.
Yeah. I mean, what more can you do? Like, it's just pretty straightforward. Let's get the best golfers in the world and go out there and play against the best golfers in the world from Europe. And I don't think there's anything that we can prep for now, 2 years removed from the next Ryder Cup, the next time it's played. I don't think there's any planning or any of that stuff. These guys got to look, at themselves in the mirror. And, if you want to do something dramatic, maybe, we say, well, geez, Tiger, you went 0-4 at the last Ryder Cup. Bryson, you went 0-3. I don't care if you're 1-2 in the world. You guys are out. We'll get some fresh blood in here. It just wasn't working. Mickelson, obviously, he's never going to play another Ryder Cup again unless he, somehow has the greatest 2 years ever next year. And Ricky Fowler and DJ, 1-3 and 1-4 respectively. Patrick Reed, you want to complain? Well, we got other guys behind you. What if our Ryder Cup team, was Billy Horschel and Keegan Bradley and Cameron Smith's Australian, Schauffele,
Kevin Na, where is he?
Patrick Cantlay. What if Aaron Wise? Would those guys would probably be chomping at the bit. Yep. These guys are all preordained. The next great thing in golf, and maybe they're just not hungry enough.
So make a good point. I'll suggest then they have fewer automatic picks. I mean, dramatically fewer, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Everybody else is captain's pick.
Right.
And it doesn't matter about rankings. Kevin Na, you're a pain in their side. You're on my team.
Yep.
Aaron Wise, Xander Schauffele, whatever.
Billy
guys
Horschel.
that are good guys, fun guys that want to play and want to go represent the U.S.
Sure.
Rather than this 2-year rolling average where you end up on the team because you had a good 2000. It's going to start this week, earning points again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you had a good first year, and then you faded, but you made it. You were number 8.
Yeah.
Because you were number 1 for a while. Now you're number 8, but you made the team.
Bubba Watson's a perfect example of that. He had a great early season this year, but that was months ago.
Yep.
That was 7-8 months ago, and he's playing terrible now.
You get these guys like Keegan Bradley and those guys who played well going in. Take them all.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Suit up. We'll have the tailors on the airplane measuring you up for your pants.
Yeah,
let's
seriously.
go.
Maybe ban social media for the week too. No cell phones.
And no ping pong and no this, no that. Just play golf.
Phil Mickelson high kicks.
Yes. Are you kidding me?
If I see another one of those, thanks to Phil. I'm glad you can do that.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Hit a 3-iron off the tee in the fairway.
Try and keep try not to hit an iron in the water as a PGA pro. From the tee rocks.
Pro. You're a professional golfer.
Professional.
It's on a tee. You have a good lie.
One other thing,
Seriously.
that you don't know if this was the reason, but one guy from the Americans went and played the French Open that was on that course earlier this year. It was Justin Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Thomas won 4 points for us.
Right.
I know it makes some sense, but still, we're talking the best U.S. golfers this year, right? And they play a different golf course every week, so they adjust pretty fast. How many times do you really have to play? Especially they're there on Monday, although they probably got off the plane, probably struggled with Monday. But you got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You got an extra practice day compared to the normal tour. I just can't believe that like a Dustin Johnson, because he played it blind this week, didn't play it 5 times prior, can't figure out a game plan to play that golf course.
Right.
And we're not talking about minor strategical errors that they made. They just couldn't hit good shots, period.
No, we hit it in the water in the alternate shot on a par 3.
Yeah.
They hit it in the water in a par 3, so we hit a provisional in the water.
Right. And then Sergio barely gets it on, and they win the hole.
Yeah, with a double bogey.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Triple maybe even. Was it a triple they won with or a double?
Well,
I don't know. Either way.
So, but you're right.
Yeah.
We're going to make 7. Right.
Oh, that's right. Then I can't remember who the golfer was. It was Sergio's partner, but he scrubbed the chip.
Oh, he did. You're
barely
right.
got on the green. I can't remember.
Alex Noren, I think, was his partner.
Made the putt for double to win the hole.
Yeah, it was Noren.
Yeah. But geez, I mean, that has nothing to do with seeing that golf course beforehand.
Yeah.
Right. Alternate shot. Besides that, if you're between clubs, hit the longer of the two. When you got water in front of you, go for the long part of the green.
No doubt.
But that's just it's just bad execution.
So, as this was going on, I was thinking to myself, okay, the Jordan Spieth is having a pretty good week here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes out and loses 5 and 4 to Thorbjorn Olsen.
Who got benched the day before.
Yeah. And that was at a point where the U.S. had a chance. Finau dusted Fleetwood.
Yep.
But, that was a match you looked at. Spieth was just not going to pull out, so you lost that point. And, Mickelson, Molinari, you didn't feel good about Phil's chances there. Watson was down big to Stenson. So even when the U.S. kind of had a mathematical chance, if you looked at it, it was still over at that point.
You look at that. You look at all the way down to the Fowler match, though, and forget the first 2 days. You're thinking we're going to win, most of those matches. We're going to, 3 more of those than we did. And then it's like comes down. Obviously, like you said, Phil wouldn't have been the clincher at that point, and we might have lost that one. But then you think the next 3, you Reed maybe, but he got that one. Bubba no, but.
Well, we got 3 of the half of the first 4 points that got posted, right?
Right.
But then our middle group fell apart.
Yeah.
But
led by Dustin Johnson, who lost to Ian Poulter.
That's what I mean. How does that happen?
DJ lose to Poulter.
And how does Spieth lose to Olesen? How does Fowler lose to a Sergio who's playing not his best golf on a one-on-one? Phil, Francesco, I would have taken Francesco 100 times out of 100.
I agree.
Reed, I would have taken him. Bubba, I would not have taken over Stenson.
Right.
Bryson, that's a toss-up.
Yeah.
So,
what got interesting, though, if Koepka gets the full point, because it's amazing what a half a point does early on, right? And at that time, Woods and Rahm were kind of battling at one. Woods was 1 down for a long time. If that had ever swung around, now you got some attention. But it didn't matter. That middle group was, once they get 2 down, it's very, very difficult to win.
Sure.
And then we had some 2 down, 3 down, 4 down.
Yeah.
It was asking for way too much.
Just a matter of time at that point in time. So.
When the U.S. got out to a 3-1 start on the Friday morning, and after that point, they lost. There was 24 more matches out there, and in those 24, they won. The Europeans won 16 of them.
Right. At one point, they got 7 in a row.
Yeah, it's just.
It was sickening. Saturday was sickening. Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, awful.
Yeah.
And it's not so much to it. It's okay if we lost on Europe. We're the road team. If it was close coming down the stretch, that you wait 2 years to play this thing, and we get to see so little match play golf that means anything,
right.
And it's so enjoyable to watch from a golf fan's perspective. And it was ruined. Really midway through the day on Saturday, you just had that feeling that we weren't going to see much theatrics on Sunday. And
I mean, Friday afternoon and Saturday morning, we win 2 matches out of the 4. We win the cup by I think we have 15.5 points. There's 14.5 points. We needed 14.
Yep.
All we had, how do you not show up like that?
You just maintain.
Yeah. I mean, we took out a nice lead. Now you got to just play 500 ball the rest of the way.
Part of our team too. All 4 major winners were U.S. TPC Sawgrass was U.S. All American big tournaments were won by the American folks, and we didn't even show up. It's a shame.
Well, let's put this to sleep for another 2 years till the Ryder Cup.
Remember, years ago, Jack Nicklaus suggested we get rid of just U.S. against Britain and Ireland and make it U.S. against Europe. Now, I wonder if Europe's going to ponder and say, look, let's change this Europe against the world.
Right. Or maybe they'll let us have Canada.
Well, North America?
Yeah.
Yeah, but who are we going to get?
Mike Weir.
The guy with the beard.
Adam Hadwin. There's some good Canadian
Luke
players.
List.
Connors.
Luke List.
Yeah, there's 3, 4, 5 guys who could earn it on points by the next 2 years.
If they want to rub it in, Europe against the world.
That's right.
Europe versus...
We'll take Jason Day and Brandon Grace.
Yep. And Sangmu Bay.
So, like I say, it'll be 2 more years. You're going to hear a lot about it over the next couple days too. But it was another interesting year here on the PGA Tour. And soon enough, the Tour will announce their player of the year. And Justin Rose, of course, won the FedEx Cup. Tiger Woods' comeback, culminating with a Tour Championship victory, puts him in 2nd place in the FedEx Cup point standings. It's crazy. Back in January, I wonder if he could make a cut. And Bryson DeChambeau, really breakthrough year for him. And then Dustin Johnson hasn't really done a lot lately. Didn't have the major season he hoped for this year. Comes in 4th. And then, breakout year for Tony Finau, despite the fact that he didn't win. Justin Thomas with 3 wins. Brooks Koepka with 2 major wins. Bubba Watson even had 3 wins this year. So it's a crowded field, but I think when you're looking at player of the year, it's got to come down to probably Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, and Brooks Koepka. Wouldn't you agree? Or is there somebody that I'm leaving out that should be considered? And DeChambeau is a reach, but does have 3 wins.
I think it's Rose or Koepka.
Yeah, I do too.
Consistency's a great thing. Even with Tiger, as well as he played, he didn't get a win until the last term of the year with 30 guys instead of a full field. Not taking anything away from him, and I'm happy that he did what he did. Right. But I don't think player of the year considerations should be in order for
Absolutely
him.
Right, not for Tiger.
Koepka was injured. He didn't do a ton in the other tournaments. He finished 9th in the FedEx Cup. So, the way the FedEx Cup works with consistency, he wasn't as consistent. He did sit out a handful of tournaments with his injury, though. But two majors, that means a lot more. It carries a lot of weight.
The 2 majors would make me vote for Koepka.
Yeah, I'd vote for Koepka.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to go to those 2, Koepka's 2 majors. Justin Rose, 2 wins, FedEx Cup, got to number 1, although he lost it the week later. But at the end of the day, Rose's consistency, I don't think, quite nips Koepka's 2 majors.
No, he didn't win enough, and he didn't win enough big in one of the majors. I think he'll be the player there. You got to have at least 1 major. Yeah. And
he was second in 1 or 2 of them, or But that being said,
you play to win.
Winning the majors and winning the U.S. Open, I think is the toughest one to win. He wins that one. He wins a huge field PGA.
2 separate courses, different. 2 separate styles.
Yep.
That's the story of the year. No runaway, choice though. But it is funny how that's going to be a big award the PGA will give here coming up shortly. But Justin Rose won this. It would be like the it would be like the who won the Super Bowl last year?
Eagles.
Yeah, like the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but the team of the year is the Giants or Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots. Sure.
Right.
Just
you're right. It's like, so what is the FedEx Cup other than a money grab?
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
You know.
I think Tiger will get comeback player of the year, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good odds.
Yeah. Rookie of the year, I can't think of anybody who would be rookie of the year, but
Well, it's also confusing
Aaron Wise.
who's a rookie. You know, it's like DeChambeau will be rookie of the year, I think, right?
No, I don't think so. He's his third year.
No.
he was on web.com for a bit, so I don't know.
2 years ago, he was the runner-up at the Masters.
Yeah, but I don't think he was.
I'm just
like
saying,
I said, I don't know how they determine what the rookie
Right.
year is here, but I think this
wasn't his first full year. This was his second full year, I think.
second full year.
Yeah, because he was runner-up at the Masters in 16.
Yeah, but he got into the Masters because he was U.S. Am champ.
No, I know that. But then the next season. So in 16 is the 15-16 season where the Masters falls in 16. So going into 17, 16-17 was his first full year, and then this
If
year.
he got into Masters because of the U.S. Amateur, he had to stay amateur. If you forfeit your amateur status, you don't get in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think he declared
Right after.
professional after he won the NCAA that year.
Okay.
So he had exemptions. I remember that in 16 he had like 8 exemptions that year.
That's right. Won the NCAA's in May.
Right, and
Yeah.
then 16 to 17, it was his first full year. So this is his second full year on tour.
Okay. Well, Aaron Wise had a good year too, and he hasn't been around a whole lot longer. But
Yeah, who's the one from Oregon?
Aaron Wise.
Wise, yeah. He this was his first year for sure. So that Bryson was already playing before Aaron Wise came through because Bryson won it the year before.
Okay. And he, to me, would be the hands-down choice for that.
Yeah,
So-
he had a good year for sure.
Yeah, it's tough to find the rookie rank.
He ended up 24th in the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
You like see these young guys. He played in 29 tournaments. I mean,
For a lot of events.
talk about every week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good haul.
Well, got to make hay.
But yeah,
Right?
he does. I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Not bad in your first year on tour.
No.
Well, Austin Cook, Peter Uihlein, Keith Mitchell, Marty Dow, Tom Lovelady, Aaron Wise were rookies this year.
Anybody above Wise in the FedEx Cup that was a rookie? I don't think
Jeez, I don't think so,
Not
unless
the names you just
Cam
mentioned.
Smith maybe. But he,
It's Cam Smith. Cam Smith was 12th.
yeah, I don't know if he's a rookie though.
Yeah, he's been around.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably a good bet for him. What other awards are there? That's it,
I
right?
think that's about it.
Biggest crybaby of the year.
Well, that's hands down.
That'd either be Mickelson or Reed.
Mickelson didn't say much, though.
No, but we're talking year awards. So I go back to the U.S. Open when he batted that ball off the putting green.
Good.
He's almost turning into a little bit of a mini circus.
Mhm.
Like at the end of his career here, it's like just go play golf and be the
Yep.
guy you were.
Don't wear a button-up golf shirt.
Yeah.
A full
Yeah.
button.
Full sleeves in Augusta in May or
Yeah.
April, and just the roundhouse kicks on social media and.
Maybe that Embro's getting to him
Just
or whatever.
maybe he's going through a midlife crisis or something. I don't know. He sees the end coming and he wants to remain relevant, I guess.
Got to be in the news somehow.
Yeah, right. No,
Champions Tours, a few years.
well,
2 years.
He should dominate that.
Think
For
he'd play in
4 or
that,
5 years.
playing Champions Tour events?
He'll play
He'll definitely play in those because he
Yeah.
knows he'll win
the
a
cash
lot
cow.
of those. Yeah.
for a bit.
No
They
doubt.
mow the roughs for those events.
That's right. And he'll be able to drive most of the greens probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stricker's killing it right now, so
Yes.
Phil will do well. They all do. Every one of those guys, and it always seems like only one a year from the main tour goes over, and
Yep.
then they just kill it for 3 years, and then
Yeah.
somebody else takes their place.
Well, like I say, the new season starts in just a couple of days, so we better preview it. It's a new schedule. So the PGA Championship, which was the last major that we just had played in August, will now be played after the Masters in May, followed by the U.S. Open, the British Open, and then the reformed FedEx Cup playoffs, which will be down to 3 events instead of 4, will conclude the weekend prior to Labor Day. So it's going to be a way different feel. This part of the season is going to feel the same as it did last year, kind of boring, and but I don't mind it. I like being able to watch these golf tournaments. Some of them are out west or even in Asia, so you can watch them during prime time or some odd times. And
gives you a good feel for the sleepers in the fantasy season when you really start a fantasy season like January with the Champions Tournament. Mm-hmm. You know, you see some of these guys, new guys that won their cards. You know, guys like the Kevin Nas of the world and that play these tournaments. That, you know,
Patton Kizzire got off to a good fall. Had a good fall last year, for example. Yeah. But Justin Thomas also won. I think he won the CJ Cup in Nine Bridges. I think that was the one he won.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the Safeway Open at Silverado Resort and Spa in Napa, California. This weekend, followed by the CIMB Classic in Kuala Lumpur, and then the CJ Cup at Nine Bridges in Korea. Sanderson Farms back to Mississippi, so it's a great. And then after that, the world are running concurrently with Sanderson Farms is the World Golf Championship HSBC Champions at Shanghai, China. So that'll run concurrent with Sanderson Farms in the last weekend of October. And then the Shriners, the Mayakoba, the RSM at Sea Island, Georgia. Shriners is in Vegas at TPC Summerlin. These are interesting enough, I guess. Mm-hmm. Before finally, January 3rd, the Tournament of Champions in Kapalua, followed by the Sony Open in Honolulu.
Fantasy keeps you attached to those tournaments.
Yeah, so if you had your fantasy draft tomorrow, before this Safeway Open, or heading into this season, the top 5 probably wouldn't change too much, even if you held your draft in January. Who would you take? I mean, the thing that's interesting about this is I don't think there is a clear-cut number one. I think the candidates are probably Tiger, first of all, which is crazy.
Sure.
Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe Rory. I don't know. Who's your top 5 guys? Justin Rose? Does he play enough? He played in 18 events, just as same as Tiger last year.
I mean, you know, if you're going into a draft situation, you know, your top 5 might not be guys you would absolutely get, right? So
yeah, but if you had to rank them, not knowing if you had the first, second, third, or fourth, or fifth pick,
like if I was going to get my first pick would be out of the top 5 players. If I was in a 5 or 8 man, I would probably go either with Justin Rose or somebody like Tony Finau, who always, and I know I love the guy.
If you had what pick?
In the top 5.
Well, I'm saying if you had the number 1 pick, who would you pick?
I'm taking Justin Rose.
And if he was gone and you had the 2 pick,
I'd probably go Tony Finau for fantasy purposes.
Wow, Finau second.
He plays a lot of tournaments. He makes tons of cuts, and he has a ton of top 10s.
0 wins.
But you're not worried about necessarily. I mean, how many wins are you going to get out of a guy in a year?
I would be in your league, and I would take Dustin Johnson's third after you took Tony Finau second.
That's okay. I mean, again, in fantasy, it's a long haul thing. You got to look at the long approach. And if you're playing 28 tournaments to Dustin Johnson's 20, and you know he didn't win, but he's gonna get a win one of these days. He's won before, and that counted for points. So this guy is a top 10 machine. He's a cut machine, and he plays a ton of tournaments. So I think you got to look at it from that approach. Yeah, Dustin Johnson maybe on a one-off, and he's playing well. I might take him over Tony Finau, but as a long haul, he played 28 times, and somebody like Justin Thomas, I'd take over Dustin Johnson. He played 23 times and won 3 times. So I just look at it a little bit.
What
like
about
that.
Koepka?
Koepka, not as much. He doesn't show out for the not the big tournaments. Obviously, he does. Not for.
Well, I think he was hurt. I think he plays a similar schedule to Thomas and Johnson.
I mean, I don't know if I would take him. I mean, if I had to, yeah, he's a good pick. And those my first pick, that'd be who I'd be looking at. So it's unconventional, but I like to play the long game.
Wow.
Who are you, Brian?
Well, my 5, not in order, I would take Justin Rose, Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and then probably Dustin Johnson in my top 5. And I'm not sure how I'd put them in priority. I'd probably put Justin Thomas first, Justin Rose second, Dustin Johnson third, then Tiger, and then Brooks.
I tell you, it's tough because this year you could take a Justin Rose and he might not finish in the top 10.
You're right.
You could take Tiger. Seems like a great pick, but it's a risky pick still with a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Could pay off huge dividends. I just think this is a pretty interesting question to ask. Me, right now, I would probably take Justin Thomas or Dustin Johnson first and second in some order. Probably followed by Brooks Koepka. I mean, I think with your first pick, you want a guy who's going to win a major. At least one. Obviously, you want a guy that's going to play a lot too, but you're thinking, in contention in majors, top 5 in majors, winning majors. Nobody mentioned Jordan Spieth. Because everybody seems to think Jordan Spieth is done. I mean, I hope that's the general theme. I'd love to get Jordan Spieth early second round if I could. I would take him late first round probably over a lot of guys. And you look at players like Tommy Fleetwood or Jon Rahm. You got to predict who's going to have the big year next year because it's never a carbon copy of the year before.
Right.
True.
I think the guy, like I was in that one fantasy league that you're in still. I know that I think the guy who drafts 8th has a bit of a power play because he's going to get 8 and 9. And this is a pretty level field at the top.
For this particular year.
10, 12 guys.
Yeah.
I think the guy drafting 8 and 9 on the loop could get a Jordan Spieth for the 9th pick. And his 8th pick could have been, I don't know. I mean, Brooks Koepka could be still on the board going to number 8.
Or like I say, Jon Rahm or Tommy Fleetwood or Rory McIlroy or, the guy last year that kind of fell to a lot of people in the second round was Jason Day. Mm-hmm. Normally, if you go back 2 or 3 years, he's going to be a top 5 pick maybe. So, he's going to probably be sitting there in the second round. Do you want to take Jason Day? Do you think he's ready to have a resurgent? And what do you do with Ricky Fowler? Talk about wanting a guy who's going to win a major. Maybe this year, can Ricky win a major?
You got and also like a Molinari. He played 20 tournaments on the tour, and so he's more over this way now than he is in Europe. Like I said, Fleetwood.
And consistently incredible for the most part.
If I had to go with 5, I would still I'd have Rose and Finau. I'd take Tiger over Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, and then somebody like Xander Schauffele who played in 27 tournaments.
And nobody wants Bryson DeChambeau, 3-time winner on tour, number 3rd place in the FedEx Cup. Nobody would take him with their late first-round pick.
I wouldn't.
I guess it just all depends on who's off the board.
I wouldn't take Patrick Reed either.
No.
The Masters champ.
Wouldn't be on my team, period. Done. If I don't like you, I don't pick you.
Well, so, you want to root for the guys you got on your team.
Well, that's true, yeah. If you don't have, look, if you're going to be sitting there, Patrick Reed's not going to be a first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, probably 3rd round, I would guess. If he was more well-liked, he might be a second-round pick. But when you're sitting there in the 3rd round and you're looking at Patrick Reed versus Molinari or even Patrick Cantlay or Cameron Smith.
Fleetwood or...
I think Fleetwood would be gone. But
the guy who didn't do very well this year, still finished 13th, is Matsuyama, is usually a top 5 machine.
Yeah.
0
wins this year for
I had
Hideki.
him one year, and he cashes a lot in a 5-person payoff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking with Finau and something like that.
You get a couple bucks a week out of him, it's not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So Hideki had a horrible year this year by his own standards. Probably he's 13th in FedEx Cup standings.
Right.
So a guy like that, you figure is he fading? Will he be outside the top 20 at the end of next year, or is he going to return to a more normal what you'd expect from him?
I'd like to see Jon Rahm move up a little bit. He did play 20 tournaments. He was 23rd, but the way he ended last year, I thought he'd come along a lot more.
So that'd be a breakout year this year for sure.
Yeah.
He got a little temperamental. It got to him a little bit.
Yeah, he did. I think maybe after yesterday, that might change things. And I think he's gotten a little more perspective on things. And until he actually won the match, over the weekend he controlled his emotions.
Yes.
And that was a good emotion. Obviously, beating Tiger Woods, you're going to be pretty excited about that. But I'm looking for him to have a big year this year. I think he's ready to go.
Well, of course, a lot of fantasy drafts aren't won in the early rounds. It's the mid to late rounds where you can really, like, if you wanted to draft Tommy Fleetwood going into this year, you probably could have got him in the 7th or 8th round.
Sure.
Yeah.
And boy, that would have paid off.
Yeah.
Xander Schauffele wasn't really flying under the radar too much. He probably wouldn't have lasted that long. But a guy like Cameron Smith,
Aaron Wise,
even Webb Simpson, Keegan Bradley, those Billy Horschel, these are guys that had pretty solid seasons. Would have been good value picks.
Paul Casey, even Kevin Knott played 26 times. Guys that play a lot of tournaments that are typically in the top 50 throughout the year. Good bet when you get to the later rounds. And, not Grillo, but it was a Spanish, Cabrera Bello.
He had a good second half.
Yeah, Cabrera Bello was always a good pick. Grillo was consistent, but he was 32nd.
Yeah, he got off to a rough start though.
Yeah,
he was missing in action.
Yeah. Hadwin had a good year. Played 25 tournaments.
Lots of Canadians, I'm telling you.
Making a lot of cuts is important. You don't want a guy that's packing his bags on Friday. You want a guy that's getting some points for you every week.
That's right. You don't want the weekend off.
It does matter.
So there's new rules coming into play in January. That's something to look at coming up this year. A lot of those rules will affect not only what you see on tour, but they'll affect what you do in your with your foursome on Sundays. And, first and foremost, you'll be able to drop from knee level, which is funny. We've been out playing, and a lot of guys have been, experimenting, and it does. It's easier to get a decent line when you're dropping from your knee. The ball will not displace itself quite as much, so you can count on it lying pretty close to where it lands.
Basically 2/3 closer to the ground.
Yeah.
It's a significant difference in drop area from your shoulder.
Tapping down the spike marks on the greens, another change that's coming. That's the one I think that's going to be most evident when you're watching on TV. It's going to look like a curling match out there with some of these guys.
Right. Do you think that'll slow down play?
Mm-hmm.
And what's some of the other rules? I didn't even include them here. I'm just thinking of what's coming down the stretch this year.
They recognize the local rule for out of bounds being a stroke and distance.
Oh, okay.
So it's like like a lateral hazard.
Right, not stroke and distance anymore.
Right.
Speed up play,
right.
A little less penal.
Right. You're allowed to hit a moving golf ball now, come January 1.
If the ball moves when you take your swing back.
Yeah, even like a double hit is no longer a double hit.
Oh, true.
Okay.
Now, someone asked me about that. They said, theoretically, you could kind of just fluff it up and bun it. I'm like, that's pretty hard. I don't think anybody's gonna be able to take advantage of that.
So you got to wonder how the rule ever got brought in. What happened 150 years ago to somebody write that rule? Right. Like if you can now hit your opponent or your partner with a golf ball, and it's not a penalty.
Oh wow!
So it must have been a rule that got put in because you ricocheted off of him and went on a green or something way back 150 years ago, or bounced it off your golf bag or your golf cart or something along those lines. I don't know, but that's all legal come January 1.
Matt, what about the equipment? Is that changing? Where if you hit someone's equipment,
that is no longer a penalty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, so theoretically, you could lay your club on the green behind the thing, and I think intent falls into place a lot too. I think some of the wording will be,
yes,
without intent.
Yes.
Right. So,
I mean, if you hit a tree and it bounces back and hits your golf bag, it's no longer a penalty.
Right.
Right now it is.
I wonder if it would be a penalty if you took your golf bag and put it on the green directly behind the hole and then
I would think that'd be not what they intend to have as a rule.
It'll be interesting to see. And it will be also interesting to see how this new schedule plays out. I mean, by this time next year, the PGA season will be long over. Long over. It'll be over a month now since the Tour Championship. So, and not only that, but we will have been, over 70 days, probably over 80 to 85 days removed from the last major by now this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's going to take some getting used to. Around
the schedule of the podcast will be more compressed too.
Oh yeah, we'll tell you. The major season next year is April, May, June, July. 4 months. that's shorter than most professional sports seasons by a long shot.
Right.
And for the casual golf fan, that's the golf season. Masters through now the British Open, but the 4 majors are for the casual golf fan. And I think even casual golf fans don't really care that much about the FedEx Cup.
Right.
They certainly don't care about the CJ Cup at Nine Bridges in South Korea.
No.
You condense the majors too. When you start the one and end the other, you're really talking only 3 months from end to end. You know what I mean? Like they happen so quickly. You know, you have the Masters, and then 3 weeks later you got the PGA. 3 weeks later you got the U.S. Open, and 3 weeks later you got the British. It's like
No, PGA's first.
Masters.
The players will be in March too.
That's right,
That'll be a
March.
change.
That's right.
Yeah. Back to the old format for them.
I'm not going to pass much judgment on it until I see it play out.
Right.
It could end up being a good thing. Who knows? I mean, they won't be competing with football, but if this whole thing was done just to make the FedEx Cup playoffs be more popular, I think that's a failure. I don't think that's going to help too much.
Yeah, and especially when it's only going to be 3 tournaments. So your last major is middle of July, and now you've still got a couple weeks before the FedEx Cup starts, and then the FedEx Cup is is what it is. It's not necessarily going to make us watch or not watch more.
Right.
I think I'm going to be bored. I'm going to be missing that big event in August.
Void. Yep.
You know, I don't like the fact that I don't think there's going to be because I mean, let's face it, those FedEx Cup events aren't anything close to the PGA, even though the PGA is the 4th major.
Right.
It's still way up here compared to the FedEx Cup events.
I agree.
You know,
Night and day.
I mean, it's 20 times or 100 times bigger than the Tour Championship. Even. You know, it's the major, and it's going to be missing in August.
Right.
Going to miss it.
Yeah, I will. It's big changes. So, been a good season though. I always marvel at when we do start a season of this podcast. We usually have on the sheet of paper the whole schedule, and it just looks like so incredibly daunting. It's so much,
no doubt.
And here we are. And again, one season ends, another one begins. We know we will not be back next week with the Safeway Open recap special or the CIMB Classic preview.
I'm just glad to get some sleep now. I got
on Monday nights.
Get back home from the trip and the Ryder Cup and all that.
Yeah, I got about a minute. I would never ask what were the courses you played and how was it?
It was a good trip, very good. Played Grand Oaks Country Club, which was originally Rolling Hills, which was originally the site for the movie Caddyshack. You might have heard of it. Bushwood Country Club, but Grand Oaks, nice course down in Fort Lauderdale. And then we played Miami Beach Golf Club, which was formerly Bayshore Country Club down on South Beach, right on Alton Road. Nice scenery down there. And then we played at Plantation Preserve, which is another Fort Lauderdale course. So played 3 really nice courses. 2 I had already played, but it was good to get back to those. And then Miami Beach I got to add to my list. So that was nice to add another one to my number.
I played this weekend too. At 7:30 in the morning, it was 48 degrees out.
Well, when I played on Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning at Miami Beach Golf Club, it was 95 out. And
I don't even know which one of those I'd take.
I would rather play and probably play in 48 degrees. It was so hot. I mean, it just sucks the life out of you because it's not dry heat and in the tropical heat are different. And the tropical heat, for whatever reason, it sucks the life out of you. We had a nice overcast day on Thursday, so it wasn't terrible. And then Saturday morning we fought off a little bit of rain, and it was cooler that day. But Friday, wow, it was hot. But watching the Ryder Cup in between, I've never had this trip of mine coincide with any major golf tournament that's overseas. So it definitely lended for a lot of Red Bull, coffee, not a lot of sleep, and when you're trying to do all the other things you normally do,
right?
Stay out a little late.
Hope you enjoyed the heat because you're not going to have that problem coming up for several months here in the Northeast. And thanks, guys, for another great year of podcasting, and for all the viewers who tune in every week. Thanks for spending time with us. Remember to connect with us online at Twitter at the Golf J. on Instagram at _GolfJ, on Facebook at facebook.com/GolfJ. All of our episodes in the best of the wide world of golf on the web can be found at golfj.com, and check us out. We might be pumping some content out here, some product reviews and stuff like that. So stay tuned, and of course we'll be back.
We will do like a preview of the World Challenge.
Yeah, we'll be back. Stay tuned. Until then, my friends, hit them long, not often.
golfj.com